All right. See what's going on this morning. How are you doing? Chris Courtney here, new Pragmatic. It's pre-show. It's pre-show. Thing that we do before the feedback loop. And I am just, we are one couch bot away from firing and getting right in here to this. And I'm just kind of taking a look at the work that Rebecca's doing. I've got a call coming up with her pretty soon, and I'm just kind of rolling through before CouchBot fires, kind of acquaint myself with the updates, because she's got a lot of updates. A lot of stuff is updated. Trying to figure out, still going a little heavy on the back and forth. I'm curious, she said product pages. I don't really see any product pages. So I'll have to definitely... Oh, never mind, sorry. She does have product pages, but they're on another page. Which is fine. That's fine. Okay. So kind of getting a better idea of what she's doing there, which is helpful. And oddly enough, as I was looking at that, CouchBot decided to take a ride on off. So that's great. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into this. I see also there are some. Got it. Okay. Yeah. Well, let's jump into this. Let me come back over here. Hey, there we go. Greetings, one and all. Chris Courtney here again, new Pragmatic. It's time for the feedback loop. So good to have you along this morning. We've got a busy one. And a compressed timeline. Eve, Luigi, and Rebecca are all in here, and Rebecca's like going to be waiting at the door at the top of the hour. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right on in, and we're going to start with Eve today. Eve turned in her work. I guess this was prior to, well, Eve turned in her work. Well, so first in, first out. So Eve's work has been in the feedback loop queue the longest, and I'm looking at her case study template for her portfolio. So she's gone through and she was working on the desktop version, and what I'm guessing is, and I want to come back and turn on these comments because I'm guessing, yes, so this is going to be a sticky table of navigations, table of contents sidebar for easier navigation. So the idea that's happening here is that this is going to like ride down the page. So as you scroll, yeah, let's turn that off so we can see it. As we scroll down, all of this moves by, but this stays. So that's why there's nothing on this side. It's just the idea is that all of this information over here to the over to the right will continue to scroll by, but this nav will stay in place. That will require a little bit of JavaScript, which is, it's just setting up a scroll by saying, hey, watch this navigation. When it gets to a certain point, add a class that says make, add a class that says stick, and then let the rest of the page go. And then when you scroll back down, once it gets past a certain point, take that class off. So that's how that works when you get into code. Nothing really fancy there. Now, is it possible to do in another platform like a Webflow or Squarespace? Sure. We just have to, whenever we do that, we've got to just dig around in their interface and figure out what they've called it. I doubt they call it Scroll Spy. but maybe they do. Maybe they do. Anyway, so problem solution. This label here. Oops, I did not mean to cancel. Um, this label is a bit large. I'm not sure how big that is. So that's 20, and it's also really tight. I might suggest giving it a slightly different size. And the reason I say that is here is we have some options here that are stacked, and it's when it gets stacked, it really feels large. Um, so the other good news here, that the thing I like here, is that you've kind of planned out, what is it that you're going to put in these images, um, and I think it's very logical. The things that you've pulled out. I was wondering about this. What if no research is performed? Like, this kicks out to the side, and it's completely possible to do that. It's just I'm not sure it adds much to the information architecture. I could totally see that, where these two things feel more like a unit, and that's the piece that is what feels weird. I think if you're going to do this, I would rather have them closer together, so that they read as a unit, and not further apart as you currently have it. So I mean, if you look at this one versus this one, okay. So anytime and that's not to say that you have to do it that way. It's just simply trying to make it a bit more connected, because right now there's like this kind of what if just kind of floats out there, and then this no research is closer to it. So I really think I would figure out a way to get these to be more of a unit that works together. Okay, so I mean, you can bring it in, you can bring this up, like something needs to happen there. It's not quite as effective as it could be. And it's 16, which is fine. I do think that what you're probably going to find is this 20 is too large. Montserrat has a habit of just being too big, because it's got such a wide measure, and it's got a tall x height. So I would consider 18 for those. And that's the thing. That's what I'm reacting to here. Is like, what if that was 18 as well? Maybe it was 2% tracked out just a bit. Those little considerations, I think, are where you really refine a typeface like Montserrat. Illustration, original, prototype testing. Okay, design process. I like the way that you've organized these. Looking forward, attributions, return to homepage. Yeah, this works pretty well, Eve. I just, for me, I wonder a bit about these transitions here, and then I wonder about. I have a few size concerns on the Montserrat usage, but I think overall, you're definitely in a spot to move forward. So so yeah, I think style exploration is like 100% full throttle, and you can, that's the other thing. And it just dawned on me. It's like, are you really using Montserrat, or is this an approximation? And now that I think about it, the Montserrat usage may be just an approximation, and you're just like saying, okay, this is going to be the rough size of it. So if that's the case, I disregard the questions I had about size of Montserrat. If you're not using Montserrat, it won't matter. Pay closer attention to some of the styling on transitional areas like that, And then yeah, I think you're good to move forward. I am curious about typography and color, which is the next thing that you'll be doing anyway. All right. We're gonna come back to Super Melon. Hey, that just made it into the thing last night. That's not Luigi. This is Luigi. Luigi had some questions. And for this, I'm gonna need to come back to. Oops, that's. Where did Luigi go? I have too many. I have too many screens open, folks. Oh, it's behind. Never mind. It's behind my OBS recorder. Let's do this. And now let's come over here. Okay. So, having some issues, hover overlay interaction with a click through interaction. Yeah, I've seen that. That's what we were. That's the issue we were having the other day, Luigi. Also having some issues with food menu overlay, making images darker on hover. Okay. More work to do on checkout. All right, so let's take a look. Because of those questions, I'm gonna want to see where. Okay, so here's prototype. Right. So you've got. Okay, so these are your hovers. Great. So how do you? So this one comes to the checkout. And he said make images darker on hover, but I don't see any place where you've done that. Okay. So let's come in here and take a look at this prototype. Let's just go into the prototype and let's see first if we can get at the trigger. Let that load. Okay, so this is where we're coming over from the home page, and we're gonna get the menu and we're gonna get salads. Okay, let's take a peek. It's taking a second to load. All right, so there that comes in. Let's view meals. It's taking a second to load. Come down and view salads. Again, it's taking a second to load. Although all right. Let's see if we can get you worked out here. So right now the interaction says open overlay wall, and okay. So we've got two interactions. I'm going to pull one of them off. All right, because I'm just curious. I'm just curious if this is one of those issues that people are having, and we've had it, where the cart simply won't work. Let's refresh. I hate doing this, but yeah, it's weird. It's not. Oh, it felt like he had typed something in there. Click open overlay, cart modal. Okay, that's what we want. I'll put a dissolve on it just to smooth it out a bit. Overlay manual. Okay. That's what I would expect to see. So it's weird because I think it's having trouble loading it. I think it may be too many images, because we've made changes and they're not rendering. And I have seen a bit of this before, where too much is going on and it just kind of chokes on it, and it's like it's choking on it right now. So let's view meals. Let's go to salads. Yeah, it's not picking up that change unless this is going to a different page that I'm not currently seeing. And it would appear that it's going to the same page. I do wonder if oh, you know what? Let's just do this. Hey, let's take that away for a second. I'm just busting some of these hovers. Okay. So none of this top row should hover right now. Like, it should all just be. I'm just wondering if you're having an update issue, or Figma's having an update issue, which would be unfortunate, all things considered. Love the platform, but I can't have it having problems like that. Okay. Few meals, few salads. It's clearly having some level of issue. Okay. Unclick. Open overlay with. Cart modal. That's going to need to be up there. Manual. Dissolve. Okay. It's close enough. Close enough for our purposes. Okay. Let's see what happens. Alright, so let's do this, Luigi. Anytime that I get into an issue like this, I just start pulling these things apart. None. None. Okay, so we've turned off all of those. Seemed like the easiest thing to do. Sorry about that. I feel like I'm wrecking this a bit. It's still like showing all these inconsistent actions. So, okay, I'm gonna come back. We're actually gonna close this prototype. Gonna rebuild it. It's very frustrating. So I respect where you're at. It's there's something up here. I mean, it's not recognizing all the changes. So I almost feel like I should like close Figma completely. Again, I just want to make sure that like because right now if this prototype is working properly, like I'm just going to go over to sandwiches real quick to see if I can I want to see if I can trigger a different interaction, kind of force it through. I've never seen it choke like this. So sandwiches shouldn't work. Okay, so now sandwiches works. And it's still triggering these weird like gremlins. Like there's nothing connected there, folks. Nothing. There's nothing connected. Oh, weird. Now it's showing things are connected. I mean, you all saw me just a second ago switch these to none, and so nothing would be connected, right? Okay. Now, let's try this again. And now nothing's connected. Okay. So weird that it would selectively update. Now we're going to pull it up here. Now I'm going to say, well, we'll say unclick, open overlay. We'll move the card up here. Get it roughly in this. We'll get it roughly into space. We'll get it perfectly into place rather, and then we'll get out of it and see what happens. And now it updates, because of course it does. Man, okay. Well, that's interesting. Now I'm just curious. Like, yeah, we can add another interaction. This is supposed to be how this works, you know. I don't necessarily know. Okay, so this is going to open. Oh, not swap with, but open overlay. On while hovering. It's just going to dissolve, and I'm just curious. Like multiple interactions, like that's something that was just recently released. And it's like now all it does the hover. It does not. That's frustrating. That is so frustrating. Because there's two interactions here. There's a hover and there's a click. And you know, I wonder if part of the issue here isn't that it can't do two modals. Let's try that. I'm just curious. Well, obviously that doesn't work for the damn. Woo! Spooky. Okay, so that's not gonna work. So unclick, cart modal, or no, on hover. On hover, swap with. I'm just gonna say open overlay. That's what we had before. So, and close when clicking outside. Interesting. So let's try it again. No. So multiple overlays not working. Single actions like click opens the cart modal. That seems to be working fine. And then I just want to drag this over to customize. I want to drag this over to customize to see if we can get that to fire. So click, no, while hovering, navigate, open overlay, yep, okay. So let's take a look at that now. And of course my question now to push that forward, Luigi, is, you know, if I click on this overlay and I go, I want it to come over here to checkout, and I don't know if that's the right checkout, but we're just navigating to it, okay? Will that work? So cart, checkout, checkout. Okay, so that path works, but it's clearly early days here for Team Figma when it comes to, and I'm going to drag that up to cart. When it comes to these multiple overlays, then that's a real problem. All right, so let's get back in here. Food menu overlay, making images darker on hover. Okay, so I'm thinking that's up here, and obviously we don't want sandwiches to be the thing. But I don't really see where you've attempted to make anything darker. I like it on hover. I don't see any sort of interaction here on the menu. Like if I was going to make something darker on hover, I'd probably have this. I'd probably have a rectangle that was over here about the same size. And the reason I'm doing this is so that you do not have to have separate images in each, because I can totally see a version of this where it's just it's just a darkened version of the same component, and I don't really want that. I want just like, I just want to hover. I just want something to hover over the top. Now, if I want to make this more intricate and I want the word to appear over the top or something, you'd have to. But in this case, like what you're describing, it just sounds like I'm going to like point to this and say, well, I gotta frame it. Yeah, so now it's overlay. So this overlay, if I pull this over and I say, okay, while hovering, open overlay, overlay, and now I'm going to say manual, and it just is there. I'll do the same thing for this one too. Manual, and it's there. Alright, so let's take a look at this. So view meals. But that, you know, that one's working. Why isn't this one working? Oh, it's because I have not, I had the wrong interaction on it. This one is on click when it should be while hovering. And, you know, let's make that, let's do something interesting. Let's get that green. Let's put that green over it. See what happens. And view meals. You know, so now you got it. But you know, these other ones don't work because we haven't done that. And then the other issue I have right now is like salads. It's like if I want to go to salads, I know for a fact that the moment we do multiple overlays, it causes an issue. So I don't want to cause that issue here. So you know, I would stay when we go back to, well, actually I can't go back to menu, but when we get back over here to menu, like this idea is great, and you don't have to keep the green, but the idea that salads is going to the idea that you're going to carry that forward and do that with salads, I just don't see it happening. I am going to ask some questions though. We've got friends over there at Planet Figma, so I want to ask about these multiple interactions because they're supposed to work. Like they just released this update for multiple interactions. All right, I'm gonna close this down. Supermelon. So Rebecca's got some changes here. Let's take a peek. So the current version. Okay, so she's got. So this is heart icon, new fashion, quick quote, disable. This, I think this is the old. Sort by relevance. Product details. I'm guessing that would accordion down these product details. Talk to the factory. That's nice. Please choose a quantity at or above minimum order quantity. That's the MOQ. Request a quote. Return policy. Chat with Supermelon representative. These pieces seem logical. I am curious. You know, they have a buy now. Would request a quote appear only part of the time? And also with lead time, I see price. So I'm a little thrown comparing these. Hiding the shipping calculator. Like I'm guessing maybe this like triggers that. I'm simply not. I'm not sure what the interaction is here because there seems to be a lot of different aspects to each of these. Like one has a rating, the other one does not. This has add to save products. This is start production. So I'm not sure about the differences between the two. So that's something I would want to discuss further. But as far as like, you know, please choose a quantity at or above, and then you've got the minimum here. I think that's nice. You also have minimum up here as well. I don't see it listed anywhere over here, so maybe that's something that they were having a problem with. People were ordering things that didn't have a minimum available. And then you get into product details. Talk to the factory. Overall, my big issue is like, are we dropping something off intentionally over here? As far as the language being used, the language seems appropriate. You did have some questions about pagination, and pagination for me is always, I don't have a shape available for this right away, but pagination's always, this 1, 2, a series of blocks at the bottom of the page. It takes you to other pages. And then I think it's also important for your pagination to have some level of because you have so many items potentially, like there's always this this drop down. It's like view 25, 50, 100 per page, that I think should work its way into this. So I would take a look at that as well. I'm just kind of making myself more acquainted with this. So the current version, okay, getting a little better idea of what exactly we're looking at. Crocheted baby shoes. Change title. So this feels like something. This feels like something that somebody's posting. Somebody's posting the item to the page. Okay. Well, I do think that there are some questions here that I'm gonna need some greater clarification. Obviously, we're about to meet here pretty soon. I do want to take one more stab at this. Typography on all images, image sizes. He wants to look very professional. Also, maybe he wants the blue tint to overlay. Okay, so back on that, while we're wrapping up here, if we come back over here to the website, I do think that the line height here is a bit much on these headlines. I always, I tighten it up and just say 100% on anything that's at this scale doesn't need as much line height as you would need for most body copy or most the smaller copy. All your headlines, like if you bring out some of that line height, you're going to be better off. 100 is where I start. I can go down as low as 90 sometimes without getting into significant issues. But I would not leave it, like right now that auto is set to like 140. Let's see here. Yeah, you made that adjustment, which is nice. Yeah, and this is the only area that has extremely large typography now, which is great because previously, I mean, there were several areas as you work down that had that issue, and now you just don't. These read well. And this is what I was talking about when I figured you were gonna run into some sort of stock image wave of things. Safe transactions, this guy holding a shield. U.S. warehouse shipping, okay, find a warehouse. Easy returns, show the boxes. But you see, you end up with somebody holding a shield. Import insurance. It's another shield. Like it, it begins to take over the other instances, and like this image with the blue tint and the fact that it's kind of this weird map, you can't really, it turns to mud is the problem. You need a clearer image here, and sell to larger enterprise and Fortune 500 companies. I wonder if that's just like some skyscrapers, or it looks like a big corporate campus. Like is there anything I can get in the background there that says Fortune 500 company, rather than like guy pointing at what appears to be a map? I can make out map over here, but I'm not sure what's going on the map. It looks like maybe they're bombing each other or something. I don't know. And then here's the steps. Okay, so I'm gonna. Oh, look at that. It's time to wrap up. So I'm going to bounce out of this. Rebecca, we'll talk more about where you're at here in just a moment. But for the rest of you, hope this was beneficial. Luigi, look out for those multiple hovers. It appears that it appears Figma is having trouble with that new interaction. So I would just for right now focus on the path that you need for testing, and we'll come back to that. I'm absolutely certain that they are. They wouldn't have released it if it wasn't ready to be used. I'm just curious what maybe it's a scale, the number of interactions that you had, but we'll take a peek at that. And Eve, I think it's full speed ahead. You're in visual exploration land, and I look forward to chatting with you soon about your portfolio. All right, everybody. My name's Chris Courtney. This has been the Feedback Loop, and I will chat with all of you again tomorrow. Take care.